Hi, everybody. This is Fred Meyer from Writers.com. I'm here with Susan Vespoli, one of our instructors. Hi, how are you, Susan?
Hi, I'm great.
And today we're going to talk about writing circles and your own background in writing circle work and learning what they are and what benefit you found and what benefit you teach to your students of the writing circle process.
Okay.
So maybe we can just start with what is a writing circle for someone like me who's never done one?
Well, writing circles, as I know them, I think there's different forms. The ones that I've been introduced to and that I've participated in and that I facilitate, they're based on a wild writing method, which I learned and also kind of comes from Natalie Goldberg's Wild Mind work. And basically, you get together with a group, usually three, is kind of the minimum. It can work with two, but it's better with three on up, to maybe about eight. I've written with 10. And you come together, and what the facilitator gives you a prompt to jump off. And I've been taught to use poems, which is really good for me because that's what my background is. My MFA was mostly poetry, so it's helped me look at poems in a whole different way. But basically, the facilitator will read a poem and then choose a couple, perhaps three jump-off lines to get you started. So you'll just kind of close your eyes or just get into the poem, and then you, without thinking, without remembering, whatever, and then the jump-off lines, it kind of sets the tone, so that kind of gets you centered for the writing. And the lines might be, like this morning I participated in one of the teachers I took the training with. We're still meeting once a week to write together. And let me think, like one of the prompts was something like, I'm awake at 3:18, and that was a prompt. And so then, there were three, and then you write those down, and then you have a timed burst. Is the person will set the timer for like 10 minutes, and you just write as fast as you can. Everyone writes as fast as they can. Whatever comes up, no editing. You'll hear your brain say like, don't say that, or you can't tell them that, but you can't. You're supposed to ignore that. Just let it all come up, and everybody writes and writes and writes and writes without editing. And then the person says, okay, you have about 1 minute to start wrapping up your thoughts, and then okay, find your last sentence, and then time's up. And then you go around and read. Everybody reads, and you're not allowed to like disclaim, like, oh, this is horrible, or yeah, you're just supposed to read, and everybody else, nobody says anything. Nobody says, oh, you poor thing, or oh, that's wonderful. Everybody just listens and witnesses. And then at the end, you say thank you to that person, and you move to the next one. And you do this. And at first people will say, like, I don't want to read. Well, it's like, that's part of the writing circle. It's a trust thing. And it's a circle of trust that nobody's going to, everything that's said in the writing circles stays there, and it's just kind of a witnessing. It's almost like, I read something recently that said fire and tribe. It's kind of like that. It's like this is your tribe, you're sitting around the fire and you're writing. And the beauty is that not only for yourself, things come up that you had no idea, like connections get made, but you hear other people say things that you think, oh, I thought I was the only person who felt that way, so you just honor, or people with a totally different life experience, you get to say, oh, that's what it's like to be in that. So anyway, it's just a real human connecting tool. And
in the example, in the example you gave, is the first thing you would write, I woke up at 3:18, and then boom, you just keep writing? So everybody's first line is the same, and then boom, you just go.
It can be. If you don't, so you give three choices, or you can say, if none of those work for you, you say use one of the classics, which is like, I remember, or what I really want to say. And then you just keep kind of teasing it out of yourself with that line. Or if you have something else you just have been wanting to write about, whatever starts coming, whatever you just follow it. But it's a way to provoke different things than you normally would write about. So, and even to repeat it through the writing, it kind of teases things out that are buried. So
when you say provoke different things than you'd normally write about, how does that feel or work in practice? Like normally I'd write about X, but in a writing circle, I instead find myself writing about, how does that work?
Um, I think that it just kind of opens different doors inside you. There's a quote from Natalie Goldberg, and I was going to actually write it down so I could read it, but I forgot. It's writing is the crack, to the opening to the wild mind. It's just like, it kind of like opens doors. So another example of that, my significant other and I often write morning pages together, and we'll read to each other. But this morning I said, well, here, I'll give you a couple of jump off lines. And it was I just picked up a book on the table and read a little thing, and it had to do with some sailor and whatever. It was a Patti Smith book. And so then he wrote just from that, all this stuff that I had never heard about him back when he was in the Navy back in the day. But anyway, you come from a different spot, and then you get clarity about your life. Or
Why do you think we normally don't access those places if we just get a latte and sit down at 7 p.m. and write alone?
I think that the more you practice, the easier it is to fall into that, but that deeper place. But I think to me, I think you have like this, all this stuff in you, in your mind or your whatever. And often we just write in this top piece. And I think this is a way to kind of drop into a deeper place. For people who regular writers, whatever, I'm sure everyone's familiar with that part where you're just in a zone and you just coming from somewhere else, kind of. This is a way to drop into that easier, and kind of a practice, like if you're a regular meditator, you close your eyes, you can get there pretty quickly, in the big, relatively, of course your mind still goes crazy, but but you can get into the zone if you practice. And this is a practice. It's a practice. It also, I think if my experience and people that I know that regularly do this, it's like it kind of keeps you clearer. And if you don't do it, if people don't do it, you get tangled up and you don't really know it's in your thoughts. And it's kind of I can't remember which authors had the statement, something about I write to figure out what I'm thinking. It's kind of one of those. It's like, oh, that's why, because you write it out, and that's what this practice, I think, does.
You touched on this, but of the ways in my life that I have of getting into that deeper place that you mentioned, writing anything that comes into my head for 5 minutes and then being forced to share it with 7 other people sounds like a fairly terrifying one. I guess it feels like there are the range of things that come up in my mind, and there are the range of things that I feel comfortable sharing with other people, and they're definitely not the same range. Yeah, so you mentioned that, and you mentioned it's a trust thing, and people kind of eventually get over it. But yeah, I feel like I would be terrified.
Yeah, I think I've heard other people say that. And actually, the first time I did this specific practice, I was really drawn to learning the wild writing technique, a teacher training from Laurie Wagner, who teaches it in California, who's wonderful. And I had a friend who had done it before. And anyway, I just like flew there from Arizona to her house in Alameda and just decided to give it a shot. And there were, 10 strange women in this house. But there was some kind of a magic, that's, an odd word, but there was something that happened there was a shift, and we were there all weekend. And by the end of the weekend, those are the women that I met with this morning online. It's like, there's some kind of a trust that happens, and maybe you don't say certain things at first until it develops, kind of, but then you do see how it works, and it's kind of transformative. That's what I felt. So I was, so you start loosening up. And she said that in her practice, Laurie, that she would let people pass once.
But like once lifetime, once all time.
I don't know, maybe more. But the whole point is everybody. Then it makes, if one person isn't going to read, then it doesn't make it safe for all the others.
Right.
you start, because you're witnessing for other people, um, you you open more. You see that you're not just the only flawed person, or you have this scary thing or something,
Mm.
anxiety about this or that. It's not all bad, there's beautiful stuff too, like
Yeah.
memories and things like that.
You mentioned that it's transformative and that it helps access kind of a deeper part of ourselves. What can you say about how it feels, or the range of ways that it feels to actually be in one of these sessions, or one of these calls, or live sessions, whatever it is?
I think it feels, once you kind of get, do it and you're in, and you maybe after the first time or something, you start feel like an opening feeling. I mean, I think it's an opening. You feel the people that I've been in writing circles with, either that I've led or the other ones, they almost unanimously, or I haven't ever had anybody say they feel worse afterwards. Everybody has said, "Oh, I feel better," or the connection builds. And I mean, I hear people say, "Oh, I love you guys." It's like,
Mm.
in our world, there's just so few places where you get to connect on this heart level, this trust heart level,
Mm.
and this is one of them. So I think it's why people. I mean, the people I know. So I actually, so I have taught it in classes, and have been, with my fellow old teachers, and I go back and forth between Arizona and Washington, and that's one of the ways I stay in contact with a group of writing friends in Arizona. Is once a month I lead a circle where we all, from Prescott, Flagstaff, and Phoenix all show up, and it's just like this, like, heart connection thing. So anyway, I hear people say, "Wow," a lot, that it's helped them. I think you do have to be ready to. I should have you do it once, Fred. So
Oh God. Okay.
yeah, see how you like it. Maybe it's not for everybody. You do have to be ready to, to be naked, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
this way.
Mm.
Not really naked.
Not literally, right?
Not literally.
That would be the next.
Sorry, that's not me. I'm just thinking. So.
Okay. I was going to ask, do people, um, so the writing that comes out of writing circles, do people often work that into longer pieces? What's your experience of that?
They do, and I have, and it's not an expectation. Like, you never know when that might happen, and that's not shouldn't be the goal. Otherwise, you've got your little scanning editor going.
Right.
It should just be, sometimes you write stuff or somebody else writes stuff and you go like, "Whoa, that you need to work on that," or that's,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of a writing circle, if you do want to talk to somebody about what they wrote, you're supposed to say, "Can I reference your writing?" And then you can have a conversation about it. Otherwise, you're not supposed to. But so we do that. We say, "Can I reference?" And I've said to somebody, "You need to send that out, or you need to clean that up and send it out," or just some stuff comes up that. Actually, a lot of things I've written has coming up, and I've written in that, and I've just sort of cleaned it up, either essays or poems. It's sort of like they're in you, and you bring them up this way. So, so yeah, it's not the expectation, and not everybody does it, but it's a very rich source of good, fresh, real material for writing.
Well, it sounds amazing, as well as scary, to me. And I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm surprised I'm finding it so scary, because I used to do improv comedy, and I meditate a lot and those kind of things. But it just feels like having no filter around other people is like a very scary thing for me. I'm not sure why, but it sounds like I can kind of tell that I would really enjoy that if I. It's like skinny dipping, maybe. It's like I would really enjoy that, but it would have to go the right way. You know?
Yeah, that still scares me, skinny dipping. But I think it's
Yeah.
the same kind of thing. It's just jump in, and I think, if it scares you, then
And do it.
I think you should try it. That was another quote. The get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So a lot of times that's where the juice is. So depending.
Right. Is there anything else you'd like to say about writing circles in general, writing circle practice?
I just think because once I learned this, I really wanted to share it with other people because I felt it was so, such a big thing. It's just, I want more people to have access because I think it's a kind of, not kind of, I think it can be a life altering kind of self-care, and just to go move yourself to a higher level in your life, or, be clear. So I think it's, I want it to spread because I think it's very valuable.
Well, Susan, thank you so much for talking to me about this, and thank you so much for your work on it as well.
Thank you. Thanks for opening to listening to it. Appreciate it.